And good evening, friends. Welcome to another edition of the Christian Emergency League. Pastor Calvin with Pastor JT Taylor.
Hey, good
And
evening, Calvin.
it's good to be together again. We've had school board meetings, other activities that have kept us from coming together for a few weeks, but we thought with the elections behind us, but also an important election upcoming, maybe
Before us.
a little less important. We'll talk about that, but James is not able to join us. He's got other pressing matters, but we're here, and we hope that some of what we share will encourage you, encourage your pastor to be involved
Yes.
and to get in touch with us if they're interested in trying to be part of an organization that wants to speak God's truth in our important times. So, well, JT, what were you surprised by the elections? Anything that took place? What was your thought on? I guess that's been a week ago Tuesday now.
Right. No, surprise. No, everything kind of happened in our area as we thought. Um, you know, Mr. Warnock and Mr. Walker are off to battle again in a hotly contested runoff.
Mm-hmm.
It still makes things exciting down here. Mr. Kemp secured the governorship.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty handily, I might add, pretty
Mm-hmm.
handily. And then, across the nation, uh, things didn't happen like all the political pundits thought it would, but it really doesn't surprise me. I think, quite honestly, you got to take a stand for something. And a lot of politicians pointed fingers at the opposition, but didn't take a stand for anything. I think that shows in the way that Americans voted.
Mm-hmm. In my reflection, there are people who are happy with inflation, with crime, as long as they have their abortions. You know
Uh,
what I mean?
and that's interesting. I heard uh, the I'm not sure what you call him, Mr. Schumer out of New York, say today that we need to legalize all the people that are here illegally because Americans have stopped reproducing at the rate that we had in the past.
Oh,
And the
okay.
reason we stopped
Uh,
reproducing is because we're killing our babies.
yeah.
If we were not killing our babies, then
Mm-hmm.
we would have more than enough people to do everything that we need to do as a country. So
Mm,
I just found not really humor in that, but I thought
mm,
if he listened to what he said and really believed what he said, he would be not fighting to have babies killed, even up to the point of
mm,
partial birth
mm-hmm.
abortion.
Yeah. Um, JT, let me just since Georgia is still coming up for a vote, let me
Hmm.
share some statistics out
Sure.
of Georgia here. Let me see if I can get the right screen here. Oops. This will be yeah. So here we go. So this, I guess, looking at the U.S. Senate as it stands, 49.4, 48.5.
Hmm.
If you can see that. But it's interesting that the Libertarian um,
Right.
changed that outcome slightly. Wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. And the Libertarian pulled those conservative votes that that would have made the difference for Herschel Walker. It would have put him over 50%, and he would have won the original election.
Yeah. Okay. So if all those people come out again, it would seem that
Yes.
Walker should win that.
Right.
But
But
2 years ago,
that's a big if, Calvin.
I know. 2 years ago,
Yep.
that's not what we saw. And if you look, boy, I think because I zoomed in, if I zoom out here, Warnock got 1.9, let's say 1.94 million votes.
Yep.
But if you look at the governor, Kemp got over 2 million votes.
Right.
Correct.
That's
Um,
correct.
and explain how Warnock and Walker get so many fewer votes. Would in your opinion?
Um, well, first of all, the Libertarian candidate had some to do with that,
Okay.
but Kemp is a known entity in Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody can see what Kemp did and how our economy was affected by Brian Kemp.
Okay.
Uh, there's new industry coming into all the cities that you've got listed there in the blue
Mm-hmm.
that are the Democrat strongholds. They're the larger cities here. All of them have had new industry that Brian Kemp has helped come in the past 4 years and really bolster those economies.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a lot of people that did vote for Kemp, but also voted for the incumbent, which was Warnock.
Okay. So yeah,
Yes,
I don't know if we
they're
can
still balanced. Yeah,
if these
and
votes.
honestly,
Yeah.
the they hammered Herschel Walker hard too.
Mm-hmm.
Hammered him hard. They actually took um, video of his wife talking about all the mental challenges and the abuse and everything that Herschel Walker did, and then they stopped that video at a certain point. If they had gone 15 seconds further, they would have heard these words. And then Herschel met Jesus Christ, and it
Mm.
changed his life. But
Mm.
Warnock, being the pastor, quote, Christian, unquote, man that he is, he wouldn't share the fact
Mm.
that Herschel Walker had found Jesus and it changed his life.
Mm. Yeah. It very very significant, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and especially here in the Bible Belt.
Mm-hmm.
So only Herschel and his supporters were sharing that message, but Warnock had spent so much money because he had money coming in from all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much money Soros had funded him, or
Mm.
the guy whose Bitcoin industry just became a sham. I don't
Mm.
know how much of that money was spent
Mm.
on Warnock, but there was money coming from everywhere
Mm-hmm.
supporting it, and it's still coming in now.
Oh,
He's just
I
getting millions and millions of dollars are pouring in from outside of the state and the nation to help
mm-hmm.
produce ads
Yeah. So,
for Warnock.
I my guess is there will be people say it doesn't matter at this point. The Senate
Yeah.
is in control of the Democratic hands.
Yeah, the only advantage would be it would be 50-50 if Herschel Walker gets in,
Right.
and that means that the vice president would have to stay there.
Correct.
She couldn't go out and destroy. I mean, she couldn't go out and do what she
Right.
does
Exactly. Yeah.
normally. She'd have to stay there and break ties.
Hmm. But it also means that's one less seat. Just speaking on
Right,
the perspective of Republicans, which we'll get to that. Not all the Republicans are our friends, obviously,
right, exactly,
but
exactly.
it would mean. So you say, "Oh, this seat doesn't matter." Well, it does in if you're looking for the future beyond just
Yes,
the next 2-year cycle, right? So,
yes.
in 2 years ago, there was a huge non-show of people who had voted for Trump but
Hmm.
did not vote in the special election.
Yes.
And whatever you think about how some of the results are skewed or manipulated, however you want to come up with some of that. In my opinion, the biggest election fraud are people who don't take their duty seriously.
Yes. And
And
there were
so,
people, Calvin, there were people that were so discouraged
yeah,
because of the known fraud that happened down here that they stayed home
yeah.
at
And
the runoff.
to me, that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And
Absolutely.
if yeah, if you take it too seriously, that's what it leads to. If you say, you know what, I have to do my duty, I trust in the Lord, but I still have to do my duty.
Right.
Then you know what,
Right.
you go out and vote. It's your duty. You leave the outcome we cannot control, but we have to be
Right.
responsible for what God has called us to do.
Yes, and each of us has one vote, and you go vote.
Yep.
I look at you guys in Illinois.
Right.
Y'all go and you vote for people that don't. It's not even going to be close sometimes,
Right. Oh, I know. Yep.
but you still go and you still vote. Here in Georgia, we knew it was going to be close.
Yep. And let me tell you something, JT. If you Trump 2 years ago got more votes than our governor did in winning the election.
Mm-hmm.
So as unliked as Trump was, he got more votes. Now that was a presidential. I understand that, but what
Right.
I don't understand is how many people just sit out the midterms.
Mm-hmm.
The Democratic candidate this time around got 400,000 fewer votes, but still wins.
Wow.
Because there were, the only thing I can assume, I don't think all of those conservatives who voted for Trump moved out of state to Georgia and Florida and Tennessee and Texas.
Right.
Not in 2 years. So to me, it's like at some level we say, oh, Chicago runs everything. Well, if you guys who voted for Trump would have voted for Darren Bailey, we could have won.
Right.
To me, that's the greatest insanity. You know what? Democrats are going to be Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
As conservatives, is that all we have? To me, it is.
Well, and honestly, I still think it's message.
Yeah.
Don't get involved in the fight back and forth in the battle.
Yeah.
But consistently tell what you stand for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And go into the communities that you don't normally win.
Mm-hmm.
Take the fight
Yeah.
to the Democrats, because there are a lot of communities you go in there and you start talking about free economics,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
about shutting the border,
Right.
about school choice.
Mm-hmm. Right. Uh-huh.
You can go into any community in America and start talking school choice,
right.
and win over votes.
Mm-hmm. I do honestly think Darren Bailey tried.
Yeah.
He
how
down,
close was
it? Not very close, really. In fact,
yeah.
whether
Within
you
20?
like it or not, they called the race without counting any votes. I mean, literally, this is 0% counted, and J.B. Pritzker wins. It's like, what? Now,
wow.
I'm guessing. I suppose he did win. I mean, as I say, he got 400,000 fewer votes, but that wasn't sufficient. And Bailey, I think, did his best. There was a very wealthy businessman who ran ads through one of the radio hosts, Dan Proft. Very effective ads.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say, man, there's a blindness. There's an unwillingness to face reality when it comes to crime.
Right.
And other issues. And it could be scary what happens in the next 2 years.
Well, and that's what Lee Zeldin ran on in New York and almost won.
Sure. Yeah.
But the one thing Zeldin did do is he brought some congressmen along with him. And so some of those New York districts went from liberal to conservative because Zeldin was so close there.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. And I don't know if that happened. I don't know if there were any seats changed in Illinois. I really didn't. I should have. Forgive me for that. I wasn't concerned for you guys.
Well, no, Illinois got worse. Illinois got worse.
Worse? Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The Republicans in the state House, state Senate are even more a super minority. And I think one of the Republican congressional seats, I think, was flipped. It was not good. It really was. And there were, I interviewed a lot of the candidates. There were some very fine candidates. I don't
right
in Illinois. I don't think it was like, oh well, we didn't have anybody good. Maybe not enough, but it wasn't. There was a good number of very decent candidates, and just the blindness, the deception. It's dark.
Mm-hmm.
It's difficult. Well, JT,
I would encourage.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I encourage you all. Don't give up.
Mm-hmm.
There were seats changed in New York and California.
Yeah.
and so Illinois, hopefully, prayerfully, will be right behind. It's just, but I noticed a lot of the people who seek change proclaim Christ as Savior.
Yeah.
They proclaim Jesus.
Amen.
So, maybe the Lord's moving in certain areas, and we'll pray that He'll move in Illinois as
Yeah.
well.
Well, and then, as we think, oh, we got to get more Republicans. And then you realize the 13 Republicans vote for the sham of the Respect for Marriage Act, right? It was at least
Right, right.
13 that did. Here, let
Yeah,
me
yeah.
share. This is the so-called Respect for
Right.
Marriage Act.
That does everything but respect marriage.
This is Alliance Defending Freedom. Supposedly, JT, and I look for this. Supposedly, there's a religious exception. I can't find it.
When you read the bill, I couldn't find it either,
Right?
Calvin.
To me, I don't know where that is. So
I
here,
tell you what I think it was. I think at one time in the first draft there was. I think that was removed soon thereafter, because this bill has been around for what, 3 years now?
well, I
At least.
think JT, this is not the Equality Act. This is
But but I know, but it's similar to the Equality
well,
Act.
okay, yeah. No, I think it takes some aspects,
And
but
I think it was written. I think it was taken and written from the Equality Act to the Marriage Act, and that's when they dropped a lot of the things that they say are still in there.
sure. This,
Because
right. At least this particular act, was only just comes from July, but I think that there are some, as you say, some threads or some tentacles from previous legislation. But here, this is, churches, I think sometimes they say, oh, well, we'll let churches get off the hook. And that creates a very false, oh, okay, then this can't be so bad.
Right.
But as this points out, what about nonprofits? What about faith-based social service organizations?
Right.
They will be, from what I understanding, they're left out in the cold.
Mm-hmm.
And they are tricky on that. They'll
And,
as long as oh well, your church is safe. And I think that's how they get Republicans in part
mm-hmm.
to support this.
Right.
So we're going to run into our church and be safe, but other Christians are going to be locked outside. I think it is very wicked.
And just connect some dots here. 58,000 new IRS agents.
Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm.
Who are they going to go after?
Yeah. No, that's right.
Who? I mean, you don't hire an agent unless you want him to audit somebody.
Right. No,
her.
Exactly. Yep. No,
And I
you're
think
right.
this act is part of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, and this is the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints supports this officially, which this actually didn't surprise me either. But
Right.
You go from not that long ago, the Latter-day Mormon Church, Latter-day Saints supported Proposition 9 in California.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I just use this as an example. When you don't stand on biblical truth,
right,
boy, your positions go change 180. Not very long. Not very.
What's that old saying? If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything.
And
yes,
and obviously the Mormons, despite some outward conservatism, but it's not Christian, and they're not standing.
No, it is a cult to the core.
Exactly. So that's it. Just shows you how quickly things do change. But Joni Ernst, I think, is an Iowa senator. She voted for this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I have the list, but of those who support, and it's a number of them. So very, very disappointing. So we say, okay, great. The Republicans are in control of the Senate on some of these issues. You say, what does it matter?
Let's be honest, Calvin. some politicians, it doesn't matter whether it's a deer or after name, they're
Yeah.
politicians.
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
And so their whole purpose in life is to get reelected because that's
Yeah.
become their job.
Yeah. Oh,
It's
it
not like
is.
if you or I were elected and came back to our job 2 years later and said
Yeah.
we can't serve anymore. That those days are over. There are
Mm-hmm.
way too many politicians that because their
Mm-hmm.
district is conservative, they'll be a Republican.
Mm-hmm. So here, let
But
me show
they're
you
all yeah,
one other thing here, JT.
please.
Uh, this I found very troubling. This is from Politico. But look at 2004, 2010, R plus 20 in the Senate. 2016, R 14. Then
Mm-hmm.
2021, D plus 2, 2022, D plus 1. Wow, that's a fast shift, JT. What's going on in
Yes.
Georgia?
Yeah, yeah. The inner cities are getting bigger and the rural areas are getting smaller.
Okay. It
And the Democratic strongholds are in the large cities. Well, and that's around the nation. You
is
find that you
this
find that
is some of this migration? Would you attribute some of that?
could be could be. Um, I just look at the population centers, like Chicago. It's pretty much Chicago almost dictates how the elections go.
Sure, but
Correct?
Chicago is not really growing for at
Okay,
least in Illinois.
but
Chicago.
at, Atlanta is.
Okay. Okay.
Atlanta's still growing, and Atlanta is now the population, not Atlanta proper, but Atlanta, the surrounding
Metro.
area, is over half the population of the state.
Well, that's yeah. Hmm.
So, and
That is an issue. That becomes an
so
issue
as the
for this.
population
Yeah.
increases there, the districts are redrawn for the population centers, and all of a sudden, boom, you got more Democratic areas than Republican areas,
Yeah. Well,
just because of the population growth.
sure.
And so, but I, and I know this is probably way off base where we usually talk, but I really believe that if the conservatives, I don't want to say Republicans, but conservatives would go into the inner city areas
Hmm.
and, like I say, state the free market
Hmm.
benefits, the free choice of school benefits, all and crime, dropping
Hmm.
crime
Hmm.
in those areas, which are all conservative ideas,
Yeah.
conservative platform. If we go in and talk to them,
Hmm.
downtown Chicago, downtown Atlanta, we could win those areas.
Yeah.
But that's just this, you know, world church pastor outsider looking in on the big
Hmm.
picture.
Hmm. How far are you in connection with Atlanta?
We are hour and 50 minutes outside of Atlanta.
Okay. So you're still pretty rural then.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
So would you say the shift has not been as significant in your neck of the woods?
Oh, it has not.
Yeah. Okay.
Has not. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That
No,
is
no. But and it's, like I say, it's the major cities down here, which the closest one to us is Macon.
okay.
We sit between Macon and Savannah,
Okay.
and both of those, but neither one of those are growing like Atlanta proper is
Okay.
growing.
So you're south then,
That,
JT.
that, that- yeah, yeah, yes,
You're
yeah.
south, yeah. Hot summers, huh?
Hot summers, hot winters,
Yeah. Okay.
and humidity all year long.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't know if I could live in Georgia.
Well, that's okay. I lived in Kentucky up till I was 24 years old.
Okay.
Northern Kentucky for my younger years until I graduated high school. So I
Okay.
don't miss the snow and the ice.
Yeah. No, that's a good.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, JT, any and anything going on locally, church ministry you want to share?
Um, I'll tell you, the private school that we're supporting down here continues to grow. She continues to get more students.
That's
Lord has blessed her with a house for next year, so
beautiful. Wow. That's something for a
she'll be
JT.
able to, between the house and the two facilities that we've built, helped her build, she'll be able to have probably 120 students next
Oh,
year when
that's
she started
fantastic.
with
Wow.
18 this year. So the Lord's just
Man,
blessing her.
that is very exciting.
And
Very exciting.
now we in the end of April we will have our second event called CAD Fest. We had one right before COVID, and that's just where we bring the community together, all the different ethnicity of churches come
Okay.
together in Cadwell, which is our small town. There's 660 people counting the cows in our town,
Hmm.
and we'll have about 2,000 people that'll show up for that, and that'll be next April. So starting to organize that,
Oh,
and
fantastic.
that's an exciting time for us where all the I hate to use the term race because we're one race,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
but all the skin colors just fall
Neat.
by the wayside, and we worship together.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So that's an event that we so enjoyed once, and we're going
Uh-huh.
to make that happen again next April.
Amen. That's
Yep.
that's a good that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Yeah. How
Getting
about, how, how about you? How's everything going with the church there?
we're
Anything
we're
new?
we're
Or
carrying on.
excitement?
We're carrying on, and we had a little event about 2 weeks ago or so, and it was just encouraging to meet former students who now have their kids in the school. To
Mhm.
hear families say, "Hey, we would have left Illinois if it were not for your school." So
Oh wow.
at some level, we're keeping a few people in Illinois. I mean, it's
Right. Right.
there's we have been blessed to have just a special kind of just a feel for many that keeps them in the state when they would
Hmm.
have found pastures elsewhere. So tomorrow is our Thanksgiving program. The kindergarten kids reenact the
Right.
story of the Pilgrims coming. It's kind of a funny time, and hopefully
Yes.
an
Yes.
opportunity to reach some of our parents who are certainly believers and others who are
Right.
just more interested in, I guess, the
Quality
conservative
education.
education. So
Yeah.
it's a good opportunity for ministry. And as we were talking about, District 211 recently said yes to this radical sex education curriculum that
Mhm.
most school districts in Illinois have said no to. So you see how at some level I don't think we really function as a democracy, a representative democracy, in that
Right.
people get in power and almost they do whatever they want to do, and there's very little
Mhm.
consequence seemingly. Now, at some level, we're to blame for that.
Yes.
It was one of our founding fathers said, "We're a republic if you can keep it,"
If you
and
can keep it. Right.
I in many ways, we've lost that.
Yes. Yes. And honestly, Calvin, it's a fight to try to get that back.
Yep. Oh, without a doubt.
It's
Without a
a
doubt.
fight, but I believe if the Lord is Lord of our churches, and we can build enough Christian schools
Mm-hmm.
to where it's not the public school educating our children, but
Yep.
it's Christian values,
Yeah.
that then we can start changing. We can't change the whole United States.
No. Yeah.
Maybe can't change all of Illinois, but at least we can change our community.
Yeah.
And it's one community by one community that will
Yeah.
change the
Oh, it
world.
is. It is. And this is where I was talking with another friend. We often think of the 2 year, the 4 year cycle, and that's part of life. That 2 year. Now it's almost like election season is constant, right?
Right.
It's almost like whatever. But
Well, it did, right? Because right after this election ended, people started announcing, "I'm going to run
well, right.
next time."
Yeah.
Right.
But so it's hard to think beyond that. But a lot of what we're called to do in terms of Christian ministry, it's a long, well, it has an eternal focus ultimately, but it's not just
Right.
for the
Right.
next 2 years or 4 years. We're talking 20, 40 years if the
Yes.
Lord tarries. So it's not, as disappointed as I am, I also say, you know what? It's not just about 2 years or 4 years, the next president, and
No.
we have to have that balance. So we're not trying to withdraw, but we're also not trying to put our trust in those things. And
Right. Well, and you can't put your trust in government. Can't put your trust in politics.
yep,
Put your trust in the Lord and work on hearts. because
Exactly.
we're called to present the gospel and let the Lord change hearts.
Exactly.
And I
Exactly.
think in every battle, we've got to look at it through the eyes of Jesus,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and it's a heart issue.
It
It's a
is.
sin issue.
It is. Amen. Well, JT, the Lord bless you and your
And you,
congregation
Calvin?
down south. It's good to be connected with with somebody that's in a little different circumstance, but we're pressing to the same end. So that's
That's right. That's right. Well, Calvin, just know that we're praying for you and your
amen.
church and your
Amen.
congregation, your school,
That's awesome.
and you have a blessed night. And I look forward to getting back with you and maybe James
Yeah.
next
Hopefully
week.
next week. Yep. Thanks so much, JT. God bless.
Thank you, Calvin.